today we're going to talk to Bo Eckstein about how to get your SBA loan approved and funded in 2025. Hey, Bo, how's it going?
Doing well, doing well. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing good. Let's just kick it off. I've
All
got
right,
5 questions for you.
all right.
What are some of the biggest changes in SBA lending that borrowers should be aware of in 2025?
I think they just changed the SOP. Before, you could have people that were not U.S. citizens involved in the loan. They wouldn't be guarantors of the loan. Now, no one whatsoever can be a borrower anymore. So they can't be involved in the loan. So now they're doing certifications. So you either have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. So even if you were a minority owner, not acceptable. And there's a lot of transactions where there's, other investors that might be in another country or not U.S. citizens were investing into these deals. No longer. That's a big change. So now the banks and non-bank SBA lenders are going to have to go through and do certifications to make sure all these minority owners are either, in fact, U.S. citizens or permanent residents, which will obviously bring a lot of changes because before you probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would imagine a decent amount of these investors, minority owners in these SBA loans or of these businesses. So I think that's going to be a big shakeup. So that just went in act probably like the last week or two. So that's one of the biggest changes that I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Just as a side note, how does that affect existing loans that have already been approved?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly. So when I was at the SBA award session this past weekend in Orlando, one of the lenders actually had like somebody that was owned like almost like 2% of the deal. He was putting in some money, was not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And he contacted the SBA administrator. And basically what they had to do is they had to get him off. And there used to be a rule where there was like a look back and they couldn't, but now that's okay if somebody is involved. So if it's a deal in process, I think those deals are kabush, right? Unless they can figure out. So they're either going to have to get out of the deal in some fashion. So it's kind of a big deal. It definitely is a big deal. It is for the benefit of citizens of the U.S., which I get that. But it's kind of a really abrupt change, which is definitely going to leave a lot of deals in limbo at this time.
What are the top mistakes that cause SBA loan delays and how can borrowers avoid them?
Well, a lot of times if there's any requirements like getting life insurance, sometimes they want the key people of the business to have life insurance, term life insurance policy. So any of that kind of stuff, any licensing that you need for the business. If there's any, for example, like a vending business, you still need your tax sales permit, you need your business license. Having that all upfront with anything, your tax transcripts, signing all your forms so the bank can order your tax transcripts right away. Really, as the borrower, you have to be on top of it, getting the underwriter, getting the bank the needed information as soon as possible. If there's a lease involved, that lease needs to be ratified. If there's construction involved, you're going to have permits in hand. You're going to have the GC vetted by the bank. So there's a lot of those types of steps. So really, I always say it's not a complicated process, but it is definitely a lot of paperwork. And you have to be on top of that. If it's almost tax season and you're supposed to have filed your 2024, you might have filed an extension. You got to see if that's okay with the bank. They're going to want a copy of the extension. All this stuff. It's really about being on top of all this paperwork, insurance. That's really kind of the holdup of these types of deals. So don't do anything crazy. And the other thing too, don't go and buy a bunch of other, cars and trucks during the process because that could, damper. Usually your credit report's good for 90 to 120 days, but if you just filled out a debt schedule for a business that you own and all of a sudden you just bought another $500,000 of equipment without the bank knowing about it, that could be a big deal. So just be careful. Just like when you're buying a home, they tell you not to do a bunch of credit inquiries, don't buy any major purchases. Just want to always be careful until you get to the finish line.
How can a business owner speed up the loan approval process and get funded faster?
Be a good borrower. I mean, like, first of all, finding the right lender. Some banks are extremely quick and efficient. Some are terrible. So what's their track record? Are they PLPs? Are they preferred lenders for the SBA program? Are they doing everything in-house? There's definitely a big difference on speed and also how many moving parts. If there's construction and things, all those things will slow down the process. If there's a new lease that needs to be signed, if there's a franchise involved, or on a franchise resale, getting a transfer agreement with the franchisor, all these things. But if you're on top of it and you have your financials and you have like a Dropbox folder with all your personal stuff in it, your financial statement, your tax returns, all your extensions, that's what I would recommend everybody do, is create like a separate, secure document storage for yourself. So as you're going or getting ready to be financed, that you have everything at your fingertips and you're in constant communication with either a loan broker like myself or the banker that you're working with. And then once you get to the closer, you just want to stay. You got to drive, you got to push, because a lot of times it does take a little bit of hard work to get to the finish line. So just be aware of that and know that you're going to be checking your emails. And when you get conditions that they need from you, get it to them in a timely manner, because there is a lot of paperwork. And so just getting that stuff in, I mean, it's not crazy, but they cross their T's and dot their I's, and just understand you're getting a loan. And sometimes they're very large loans, and nobody wants to make a loan without making sure all the paperwork is in and accounted for.
So you've already touched on this, but are there any other financial documents that an applicant should have ready before even talking to a lender?
Yeah, your tax returns, personal, and if you own any businesses, they want your business tax returns for any business that you own 20% or more in. Having updated balance sheets and profit and losses is essential. So that would be step one, I would say. And then you're going to need Form 413, which is a personal financial statement. There's some other forms that need to be filled out there, SBA. So getting that set up in the beginning, I think, will expedite things. And there's a big difference in borrowers. I have lots of different borrowers. Some of them are just so dialed in and they're on top of it. So it's really, I think, being organized and being efficient and having a good CPA or bookkeeper that's getting you your financials when needed. Because a lot of people might own other businesses and they're not organized on the other side of their businesses. And so if they own 20% or more, they have to get all the stuff from that business. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm just, keeping track on a scratch piece of paper, and they don't have professional profit and loss and balance sheets. So it pays to work with a good financial bookkeeper if you already own businesses. And, when you're getting into business, bookkeeping is essential. So just getting that dialed in. And it's usually not you who wants to do it. You got to outsource that and get the right team.
If you're looking to acquire a business, stop scrolling on Biz Buy Sell and visit franchiseresellelistings.com. We'll do a customized search. You can get on our weekly distribution where we're sending new inventory weekly to your inbox. So visit franchiseresellelistings.com and opt in today. See you there.
Hey guys, Bo Eckstein here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.